Trying to please others is such a thief of joy. You never know when they will approve of you or not, and so you're basing your entire happiness on some unpredictable external event that you have no control over. Also, since the word others is plural, you never know whether you can appeal to all of them or if someone will still be left disappointed. Why do we care so much about the opinion of others? And how do we stop caring so much? How do we start living our own lives? I think the most freeing thing in this life is to live by your own rules and freely express yourself. Hey guys, my name is Polina if this is your first time on my channel. And in this video, I just want to address the topic of caring about the opinion of others. And I want to share some of my own examples. But first, I'd like to give some very actionable tips that you can easily implement into your own life to start building your own independence from ground up. I think one of the first steps we can take to try to diminish the weight that we assign to the opinion of others is to address the culture and try to override cultural beliefs that we might hold. I'm a woman that comes from a more traditional culture, and I definitely feel like in this culture there's much more patriarchy and women are conditioned to be nice and to be convenient and to always care about everyone else and to always appeal to others. Whenever you try to think of yourself, you might be labeled selfish. It would be absolutely pointless to deny that I'm still affected by this mindset. But at the same time, living in the US helped me to see that there is another point of view as well, much more feminist and much more liberal in a way that it allows women to think differently. And I'm sure men also have their own pressure points in different cultures, and they are also affected by a certain societal stereotype. But since I'm a woman, I'm just talking about my own experience in facing this kind of pressure. So yes, I sometimes think that the culture can go to great length to diminish someone's light. But the good news is it can only diminish your light if you let it. To start overriding cultural beliefs, it's very helpful to try to look into other cultures in the world and see that in every culture, their beliefs have their own validity, but there's no one single universal standard, which means all of these beliefs can be challenged. Living abroad or traveling and being exposed to other cultures can help very much as well if you have the opportunity to do it. I personally really love and really associate with the idea that every woman's life path is different, and so will be her choices regarding her career and her family, and all of those choices are totally valid. There's no golden standard. The second step you can take to stop caring about what others think is realize that your true power is inside of you. Nothing can get to you unless you let it get to you. Sometimes in our lives, social pressure can be really intense. And sometimes you need to be this very strong person who remembers that their thoughts and their reaction to the external events, they are always within your control. How you react to something is always your choice. And you can exercise this choice whenever you want. You can repeat this affirmation to yourself. I, and only I, decide what to think and how to react. In this way, your power is absolutely unlimited. And all it takes is turning inwards and becoming your biggest supporter, becoming your biggest fan. And yes, it might not happen overnight, but you need to start building this relationship with yourself, where you know that you are always safe on the inside. If you hear that someone thinks something very different from your opinion, you just turn inwards and you tell yourself, so this person thinks that, so what? I'm allowed to have my own opinion, I stand by my opinion, and I don't need to declare it to anyone. I don't need to argue with anyone. This person is allowed to be themselves, and I'm always allowed to be myself. My tip number 3 is to start spending more time by yourself or surrounded by people who are not afraid to express themselves. I'm sure you all know someone who does whatever they want and they seem so unbothered by the opinions of others that they just live their own life without any reservations. I think it's excellent to be around those who defy social standards and live their lives to the beat of their own drum. One of my childhood friends is exactly like that. Lera, if you're watching it, I'm talking about you. Like, she's always done whatever she wanted, and she didn't consult anyone, she didn't ask for anyone's advice. She's just doing what she wants, and she allows herself to explore life however she wants. And she makes her own decisions when it comes down to relationships or having children or building a career or switching careers or sometimes not even working at all. Like, she just does what she wants. And I fully admire that. And I really want to absorb this kind of energy. It's a really great opportunity to learn from someone else's example, and you can see that their world is not crumbling down because they're freely choosing what to do with their lives. I also mentioned spending time by yourself. I think when you spend time by yourself, you embrace the sensation of being alone. And you also give yourself time to think about all of these social premises, and you can start questioning their validity for you. Maybe if you are really dependent on the opinion of others, you have a certain fear of being by yourself, and intentionally spending time alone will help you conquer this fear. It will expose you to that fear. But through spending that time alone, you can start working on that relationship with yourself. You can become your own best friend, and you can creatively think and come up with your own set of beliefs. It's so important to build safe haven within you, and spending time alone is a perfect opportunity to do exactly that. My tip number 4 is to watch videos, read books, listen to podcasts that align with how you see the world or with how you truly feel. You will see that you are not alone in the way that you think. I think ideally we're trying to get to a place where even if no one else on this planet thinks the way you do, you still feel super content in your own worldview. But I think it's a good intermediate step to just recognize that there are people out there who think the way you do, even though you might not have them in your immediate surroundings. My tip number 5 is to avoid direct opposition. I am very much anti-debating. I feel like the majority of social debating is just trying to prove that your viewpoint is totally right and there can be no other viewpoint that opposes it. I feel like when people debate, they rarely listen to one another. That's why debating is something that I pretty much never engage in. This direct opposition with someone will just strengthen the social pressure that you feel. I think it's best to avoid debates and just think your own thoughts and make your own choices. You don't need for anyone else to agree with you in order for you to live the life the way you're choosing to. Your right to think and do what you please is already yours, and you don't need to fight over this right. The way I do it is if someone disagrees with me and then offers their advice that contradicts what I think, I just thank them and I nod, and then I still do what I want and I still think what I want. When instead you start debating, people start assuming that they have a say, that you can be persuaded to think something else or do something else. And I think it's best to not let them have a say in your personal affairs. You can surely consider their advice that they offer, but you're free to do anything you like anyways, and there is no need to argue about it. Every person is allowed to be themselves. Another tip is to limit asking for advice. Learning how to think for yourself is the most useful skill that you will ever develop in your life. That's why I think if you have a tendency to constantly ask for advice from someone else, you just kind of give up the authority over your own life and you constantly think that someone else has the answers, even though, to be honest, no one has the answers. No one. There's no a single right way to live a life. That's why there's no single answer. What is right for you might not be right for someone else. What is right for someone else might not be right for you. That's why even though sometimes advices can be helpful, I feel like a lot of times they're just redundant. And you can always start small. You can pick your own outfits and pick your own makeup and make your own schedule and make small decisions in your daily life. Eventually, you will get to a place where you can make your own big decisions. Decisions that relate to family or career or where to live and all these other big topics. You should always notice your own progress and realize that it might take some time, and that's totally okay. And through this process, I'm telling you, you will start trusting yourself so much more, because you will see that you can find your own solutions in all of these different situations that life is throwing your way. My tip number 7 is to find what you enjoy. Just like with decisions that are truly your own, you can build a base of things and activities that are truly yours as well, that you truly sincerely enjoy. You're not doing them to please anyone else. You're doing them to please yourself. These activities will be the expression of you. You can start with little hobbies and then you will move into bigger things. But this will just help you to pick something despite of what anyone else thinks and pursue that thing. The more various things that you incorporate in your life that are truly your own, like decisions or hobbies or career or activities or people that you choose to hang out with, everything like that you handpick yourself, the more you will feel like your life is your own and the less you will care about the opinion of others. My tip number 8 is to consciously understand why you care so much. I feel like the need to be socially accepted was built into us as a part of a survival mechanism. Because back in the days, in like hunter-gatherer societies, if you were abandoned and left alone and ostracized, you were gonna perish. Like, you were not gonna make it. So the need to be socially accepted was absolutely essential. But now we thankfully live in a day where in a lot of societies around the world, you can express yourself and nothing terrible will happen to you. Of course, I fully recognize that there are still many societies in the world where people can be in actual physical danger if they do express themselves. But at the same time, if you are in a society where the stakes are not as high, then you know that nothing will happen to you if you start to express yourself more step by step. Ugh, the sun is coming out. Anyhow, my tip number 9 might be my favorite. I encourage you to imagine and potentially write down the worst case scenario. What could possibly happen if you were to express a certain thing that you want to express? What would be the absolute worst outcome if your choice didn't coincide with the society's choice? I feel like working through worst case scenarios just helps us understand that it's not as terrible as we make it out to be in our heads. Maybe your worst case scenario is not terrible at all. Maybe you'll just have to suffer some social embarrassment or feel uncomfortable in a certain situation. Or it can be something that could be much more difficult. Like, for example, if I marry that person, my family will be really disappointed in our union. Or if I do XYZ, I can potentially, I don't know, lose my job. So of course, there are some real like worst case scenarios that are terrifying, but still, visualizing them and realizing that they still won't be the end of the world will really help you diminish that fear that's sitting inside of you. Honestly, imagining worst case scenarios is my best strategy in dealing with anxiety. I do it like all the time. And my last tip is I just want you to reflect on the following question. What is your measure of success in this life? How do you want to live your life? I think when we live life in which we are not happy, we just lose the sense of purpose. We don't understand what is all of this for. And so I think the only way to truly live a happy life is to choose yourself, is to be yourself unapologetically. And that's why I think we should use happiness as the true measure of success in this life, even though that's not what society makes it out to be at this point. When we break free from caring about the opinions of others, that's when we can be truly happy. Our happiness no longer depends on some external factors that we can't control. Finally, happiness becomes our own. I want to share some of my own examples of doing what I like and not caring what others thought of me or think of me. Being vegan vegetarian for the last like 8 years is one of them for sure. There were so many situations when people would ask me questions and disapprove of me. There were so many situations in which I was the only person at the table eating something different from everyone, and everyone would be like staring at me and at my plate. So many situations. At one point, I was even raw vegan, and people had such puzzled looks on their faces when they would find out about it. But I still persisted with it because I wanted to do it. I enjoyed it. It was my path. And at this point, this philosophy is something that I truly believe in. It's one of my deepest convictions. And so I really, really don't care what someone else will think about it. Another way in which I'm like the black sheep is that I don't drink alcohol. I really don't like it. I filmed a video about it. And again, there were so many situations in which I was the only person drinking water, cheering everyone with water. And people sometimes would ask me, oh, you don't drink? And again, I explain why, but then I always remember that like this is my choice. Even if someone finds it odd, okay, fine. Like I want to live this life in a way that aligns with me, not with other people. Of course, I dated someone that my family disapproved of, and it was challenging, but I still had to live through that experience and recognize that whoever I date is still like my choice. I switched my career at one point. I changed majors to psychology, and a lot of people didn't understand or didn't approve of it, but still, I needed to go through that. It's my own path. My path will contain a lot of mistakes, 100%. But those mistakes are just parts of life. They are a part of who I am. I'm living this life. I'm exploring this life. It's okay to explore this life in different ways. Don't take this life so seriously as if there's like a single set of rules according to which you have to live. That's not true. Another example would be pursuing this YouTube channel and putting myself out there and recording what I want and picking topics and talking about different topics and being vulnerable sometimes. That's also something I do despite of what anyone else thinks of me or my choices. So in conclusion, I just want to say, be yourself and slowly build a foundation, and don't be afraid, because honestly, I'm telling you, if you are afraid, then people will judge you because you will attract that. You will seem unsure. You will seem uncertain. But if you build up that confidence within you, then no one will even question it. We get the same attitude back that we project. That's why building your confidence over time will really, really set you free. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this video was able to uplift you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.